What's up, witches? In today's episode, I wanted to share a snippet from our Empress Initiation MasterHeart. Yes, I said MasterHeart, not Mastermind, because we do things very different in our Water Witches community, and I know that this conversation is going to be absolutely supportive to the conscious, creative, visionary, witchy, entrepreneurial woman who knows that she is such a badass. She has such magic and medicine to share on her heart, but there's just this niggling feeling that stops you from really showing up, being bold, being outspoken, being visible, sharing your truth, owning your voice, and ultimately owning your desires and what you're destined for. So, without further ado, enjoy. I co-host this particular Master Heart with my business partner, Monica Painter. We have a free masterclass called Liquid Legacy for women who are wanting to learn how to get paid in their magnetism, in their authenticity, with automated high-ticket affiliate marketing and creating generational wealth in collaboration with Water Witches. And what's very special for the month of March, women who are feeling the yes in their wombs and in their bodies for what it is that we are co-creating here. Everyone actually who partners with us gets to have an exclusive invitation to our reclamation coronation ceremony in a castle in England on Beltane. So there's more info in the show notes. You can register for the free Liquid Legacy Masterclass down below. If you enjoyed any aspect of this episode, please do tag me in the Rich Witch Prophet on Instagram. Take a screenshot or a screen recording and tag me. I'd love to hear what resonated with you in this episode. Enjoy.
Put me on the altar 'cause you can't be tamed. Silence underneath your flame. Cut the cords around me as I speak your name. It's never gonna be the same. Even though I loved you, it was all in vain. And now I gotta break away. Put me in the water, tell me I'm renamed. Higher self-reclaim.
Question is how to really move through, like you called out earlier, like that's your witch wound, and I can feel deep inside that there's this like intergenerational witch wound from men, quieting my voice, or I don't have a specific as I was like, burned at the stake or anything, but I really do have a like fear of being seen that it doesn't feel, it's not mental for me. Like I'm an artist, I'm a performer, I'm out there. But when it comes to sharing magic or sharing, anything else, I'm feeling like a deep, intergenerational witch wound that needs to be dealt with and healed. And I know you shared, I just healed my witch wound. It's like, what does that even take? Where do we even start with that? Because this is really like my biggest thing about this whole activation and all the things. And like, I feel like it's really triggering me. And so that's the story that I'm approaching any other women about. They might not even have the same trigger around it. Could be really like perfect for them. And yet I'm, you know, letting my own story or my own misidentification, be that block. So it's just a question about how to really work through that.
Yeah. Quick little caveat. I didn't say that I healed the witch wound. I just said that we all have this witch wound that comes up. I actually would love to invite Monica to share, but one thing I want to share before I pass it on to her around this is the only way out is through, right? So EFT, the healing, the being in this container is one aspect, but the other part is that emperor energy of just fucking claiming it and doing it, moving through that. Every time you show up and you do the thing, I'm telling you, those shackles, they start to be removed. But every day you do not, those shackles stay. And they may even get tighter, especially if you keep telling yourself that you are going to shift this, but then the actions are not aligning with that, that starts to have us not be trusting ourselves, because it's like we think, who's going to listen to us? But then we're like, well, we're not listening to us. Starts with us first. So I'll pass it over to Monica actually, because I feel like she'll have something to share around this.
Thank you. Yeah, what came through was the exact thing that you said, Saber, was the only way out is through. And intuitively, what comes through when you're sharing, Jody, is we have to like recalibrate, right? And the only way to recalibrate is to actually show our body a different story. And so, what's embedded within the witch wound is if I show up, if I'm seen, if I share my gifts, like if I share my ultimate gifts with the world, if I show people how to heal themselves, they're going to kill me, right? Because that's what they did to us, is whether we consciously remember or not, this is not our first rodeo. We were burned for believing in the god and the goddess. And so even though you're not consciously aware of that being something that's holding you back, it's there. And the only way to transmute it is to do it, is to feel the feeling, to feel the edge, and say, I'm going to do it anyway. Because your body, your experience is not going to know anything different until you show it something different, right? You can say it until you're blue in the face. But if you don't actually lean into that edge and jump and leap, the wings will never be there. You'll never have the wings, right? You'll never spread them. And so that's how we do it. And yes, behind the scenes, you do the EFT tapping, you've got to have your energetic foundation, like period. You cannot show up and do this work if you are not devoted, if you do not have a non-negotiable energetic foundation, right? Like, what is the thing that I'm doing every single day that is going to allow me to access the bigger part of me, that's going to give me the endless energy and desire and inspiration to actually do the thing that I'm afraid of doing, to do the thing that I feel held back from because of what's generationally woven into my DNA, into my energy field. What are the ties that bind me? And like Saber said, the shackles loosen every time you do it. They fall off eventually. The cords are cut. And then you come up against your next edge, right? Because it never ends. And so I'll encourage you to, all of us, the verbiage around healing. What if we're healed enough? What if we let go of the idea that there's any more healing that needs to be done? What if you, exactly the way you are right now, I have chills all over my body, are just perfect to receive that divine love, to receive that divine abundance, to receive that divine group of women that wants to learn from you and grow with you and learn with you? What if you're good enough right now? Because that's the truth. We just get to keep evolving. I mean, you're here. You said yes to this. Most people don't even say yes, right? Most people are still stuck in the grind of the box, doing the same thing every single day. And there's a lot of rinse and repeat going on over here, right? But I do it joyfully. And if I get bored, I get to mix it up. I don't have to ask my boss for permission, right? And so I'm encouraging all of us, and myself included, right? I'm talking to myself too. Let go of the idea that something has to be healed. Okay, cool. We're going to keep healing. We're going to be soft about it. We're going to be neutral about it. We're going to be the observer of our life. We're going to be the observer of the portals that are coming in to allow us to expand. But we're good enough right now, baby. Right? Yes, yes, yes. We are good enough now. And the other piece of that I'll wrap this up in, this is a little bow on the box, is we have to stop telling the old story. Now, I'm not saying don't bring your resistance to the master heart, but be super aware when you do bring it. Is this the same thing I've been saying? Because I see it, right? I see it in my own team chat pod. I see it with us. And I'm saying this with love. This is not judgment. We grown. I'm just being honest. I see it. Like, we have got to stop telling the old stories. If some resistance comes up and you need to share it, cool, bring it. But you better bring it from an aligned space. You better ask your womb first, honey. Right? You better take radical responsibility for what shit you have created that you're now swimming through. Because I'm full transparency, I'm navigating some shit right now. Big shit, huge shit. That if it would have happened to me 4 years ago, I would have been a mess, a hot fucking mess, telling the whole world, well, not the whole world, but like mom, dad, grandma, Aunt Susie. I don't even have an Aunt Susie, but right, you get my point. Like, stop telling the old stories, because the old stories only perpetuate that same old fucking story. Now, am I telling you to bury it? No. Do the inner work with your womb to transmute it, because the answers are not in anyone else. They're inside of you. And we do a lot of this, right? A lot of this, but it's in the quiet. Like, so get real with yourself. Like, how often am I quiet enough? How often am I asking my soul, connecting with my heart and my womb, the ultimate information center, right? Like, how often am I? Is it enough? Because I've been some shit going on over here, okay? I'm like, I had to go really deep last night. I had to go really deep, extra deep, because I'm deep in shit right now. But it's a portal. It's stinky, but it's a portal, and I'm going to use it. I'm going to be neutral around it. It's going to be fine. Everything's going to work out, because things are always working out for me. Things are always working out for me, for us, right? Okay. Off my soapbox.
That was so good. Woo! Woo! Ah, this is the thing, right? And it's not what am I trying to say? This is why we wanted to have this conversation today, because it can be very disillusioning when you're learning how to do business in a different way, you're learning how to be in a different way, you're learning how to step into this new feminine radiance, this Empress energy. And we think that this is putting pressure on ourselves. We think that this is pushing. We think that this is, it can feel that way, right? Because you're literally dismantling old paradigms and old structures of being. But you're not forcing something that has no end. That's the fucking difference, okay? You're not hustling on this hamster wheel. You are clearing the space you got to burn away. Is fire intense? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It is intense. It is needed. And it is the transmutation portal that she was saying that clears away and makes space for the new story. But you got to burn away those old stories, those old patterns. Did you know when I started my magic business, I was literally living in a bus because I told myself that I could not afford rent in California. That is expensive. You know, everyone says this, blah, blah. Um, and now that story is just not a story for me anymore. Like, expensive is relative. And I realized that I had this idea. I sacrificed, I chose, I settled to be in a bus, which, yes, I love to travel and do that nomadic gypsy thing and whatnot, but really it came down to I didn't believe that I could have both. I didn't believe that I could have the place and the bus that was like, I don't know, 12 miles to the gallon or something like that. Because I was just thinking small like this. I'm sharing this with you because they were such old stories that when I started my business in Enagic and recognized that the fucking world is actually my oyster and I can have everything that I want and everything is possible and everything is actually working out for me, I was like, oh my God, I've been doing things very differently, very differently. And we've got decades on that, right? And I know some of you have many more years than me, but that's the thing that we got to really come to terms with is there is definitely some grit and tenacity that needs to be done to shatter that, to claim that throne that you're going to be claiming at the reclamation coronation ceremony. Like this is not a dress rehearsal, you know? What really motivated me was nobody was going to show up for me but me. You know, my mom passed away when I was 15. I grew up my teenage years in foster care. I didn't grow up with a dad. And when my mom passed, there was this fire underneath me. That was my fire decision, this energetic decision in me that I was like, I'm claiming a different life for myself. And I just took the next best step. It was college at first. I was actually going to go to school and be a doctor. I would have graduated last year. Can you imagine? But it's okay. It was a part of the path. I just grabbed the next step. I didn't wait for it to be perfect or wait for it to, I did it. And I also course corrected then I became an artist. I was a gypsy traveling in a bus for a while. I was like, you know what? This is it next. And for you, Enagic is next, right? So claim it. I came to Enagic with the same mindset. This is next. And it was. It stuck because it was finally the sustainable business model that changed everything. But I had this energetic decision. And I made more of them throughout my journey in Enagic. But it reminds me of that first one that I had when my mom passed. I remember I was on medications from foster care and I was like working at KFC and I was like, I'm not taking these medications anymore. They're like, no, you can't. I'm like, yes, I'm gonna run away if you tell me no. Like, you don't tell me no anymore. It's literally what I did. They knew in foster care, they were like, this chick's gonna run away if you even try and control her. I just like claimed it. Like I do what I want, when I want, how I want. Okay? I run the show now. Otherwise, like someone else is gonna run the show, and I'm not okay with that because that's what drove my mom to the ground. I truly believe is her trying to fit herself so much in a box. And I was like, there is no way in hell. Like I am going to be the one that changes this generational lineage. I have Japanese in my family. My grandmother's full-blooded Japanese. There's a lot of suppression within our lineage, all of our lineage. Witch wound, African, Arabic, like there's so much suppression in every lineage. But you got to make this decision that you're like not going to have those fucking stories hold you back anymore. You got to take that this is why this grid that you're in right now for the reclamation, like really tune in with that word. Ugh, reclamation, right? Reclamation. It's your turn. I am curious to actually open it up to Monica because that just came through. I don't even remember what I was talking about. Oh, I was talking about claiming and reclamation and making this decision that there's no way in hell you're going to come to the reclamation coronation ceremony without bringing a woman with you, right? How do we actually step into this space of making this firm, energetic decision, Monica?
Oh, I love that. What was standing out for me when you were sharing is the way in which you tell the story. The stories get to be told differently. Notice that she painted her younger self as a badass, right? She didn't tell the story from a place of disempowerment. She told the story from the shift. right? And for me, when I relate it directly to this business is when I was a nurse and I was working those shifts, those 13-hour shifts, working my ass off. I did not tell the story because I know there are some of us, I think there are quite a few of us who are still working in like another job while they're building. And that's what most people do in Enagic. Most people don't just drop everything and run. Like that's actually not the smart thing to do, you know? Um, like most people, they come into Enagic and they build in the pockets of their time. So my story was not, God, I'm still a nurse. My story was, I'm a fucking badass that's over here saving lives and building $1 million business to free myself. That was my story. And so when my ass would go live, at 8 o'clock at night, depleted and tired, didn't really feel like doing it, but I knew that there was an end in sight and that was my motivation. And I have 3 kids that I need to feed. Like that'll move your ass, right? I would go live and I wouldn't do it for a long time, right? Like I didn't want to like deplete myself. I want to be able to get up the next day and live life. But I felt the edge. I felt the edge of going live and I felt it in my body and it scared the shit out of me. And I never rewatched them. I would post and run. It still built a following. I would post and run. But what I would do is I would show up and I wouldn't show up in my exhaustion. I'd flip that shit. I would show up in my excitement for what was to come. I would show up in my inspiration for what I was building, not what I was unplugging from, right? Because if you're focused on what you're unplugging in from, you're not actually unplugging, right? It's like, how can we take this resistance, overwhelm, depletion, all of the ways I took all of those things that felt like they should be barriers and I turned them into portals of opportunity. And it was not easy. It's a hell of a lot easier to tell the story now in that way than it was then, but it's possible because we've done it. There's a lot of people, you've done it too. You've done it in one way or another or multiple ways. And so even in the beginning, not having the numbers, because there was a long time I didn't have the numbers. I didn't have the proof, the financial proof, but people can feel you. People could feel that I was plugged into something extraordinary to be able to come home from work or shit. I would take a break that I would have to create as a nurse because we don't, unless you insist on a break and a lunch, you ain't getting one. I would ask someone to watch my patients and I'd go to my car and I'd go live and I'd talk shit about the shit I was seeing, but I would flip it. I would speak about it from a place of empowerment. Like, okay, this is happening with this patient. This part of it sucks. This is what I'm showing them to do. This is why I'm unplugging. Like you just take it and flip it, take it and flip it, take it and flip it. You got to take it and flip it, don't you? Because it's all inverted. And so that's the reclamation. Like that is what it is in the literal sense. We can speak it. We can say it all we want, but it's in the application that it actually is a thing. And then, it gets easier. Then the edge gets different. Then you're like, okay, where's the edge? And then Saber calls you and is like, let's do a fucking retreat in the UK. And you're like, oh no, it's terrifying. I'm not going to get anyone. And then boom, boom, boom. 7 women sign up for my team immediately. Or 5, maybe it was 5 to 7. Right? Like I was terrified. And we get to call each other on our bullshit, right? And we get to call each other into our edge. And Saber and I do that for each other all the time. But the cool thing is, once you get so like, we've honed the craft of transmutation in a very cool way because Saber and I, we call each other forward and call each other on our shit in a very organic way. It's not even a hey, it's very fluid and feminine. It's so cool. Like what we are all co-creating here, it is just freaking magical.
Okay, I trust that this message landed for you, Empress, Queen, Goddess, Witch, at the right time, in the right place, and in the right way. Again, make sure you leave a review, 5 stars, if it feels resonant for you. And I'm really looking forward to hearing from you what resonated with you in this episode over on Instagram at The Rich Witch Prophet. You can check out the free masterclass Liquid Legacy to learn how women all around the globe are getting paid to be in their unique, authentic magnetism in collaboration with water witches around the world. I'll see you soon.
Put me on the altar 'cause you can't be tamed. Silence underneath your flame.